Alright, continuing on. This one had me graph this function, square root of x plus 1. So I'm going to graph me x and y. So I want numbers under here that actually have a square root. So I can take the square root of 0. So if that equals negative 1, negative 1 plus 1 is 0. Square root of 0 is 0. So 1 has a square root, so I can make x is 0, because 0 plus 1 is 1. Square root of 1 is 1. Now the next number that would have a square root would be a 4, so let's make x a 3. Because 3 plus 1 is 4, square root of 4 is 2. So let's see what we got. We got negative 1, 0, so negative 1, 0, 0, 1, and then 3, 2. So if you notice, I need to pick the graph that looks like it's curving up and to the right. Okay, number 11 wanted me to determine any relative maximum and minimum. So here's the relative max. So this is a max of the y value is 1 at x equals, the x value is 0. Now here's a minimum. This is a minimum of negative 3 at x equals 2. So if you notice this one here, B, I had a maximum of 1 at x equals 0. I had a minimum of negative 3 at x equals 2. So I chose B. Alright, now down here, they want to know how this graph, x minus h squared minus 3, can be obtained from the graph of y equals x squared. So that's the graphs that we know make a parabola. But we're not worried about that. We're worried about what's that negative 8 doing to this graph. So since the negative 8 is inside parentheses attacking that x, that negative 8 is actually going to move me right 8 units. And then this negative 3 at the end, since it's at the end, it's my vertical, and the vertical goes up or down. Since that's negative, it's going to go down 3. So I need to go horizontal, right 8, down 3. So look, D shifted 8 units horizontally right, and then shifted 3 units down. Alright, 13, I'm going to work on my scratch paper here, but remember, A is 1, B is negative 5, and C is negative 5. And I'm going to run the quad on that. So the quad formula, this is what, number 13, is x equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Alright, so here we go. We got negative b on mine, which was negative 5 plus or minus square root negative 5 squared minus 4 times a, which is 1, and c, which was negative 5. All that's over 2 times a, which is 1. Alright, here we go. Negative times negative makes that a 5, plus or minus. Under the radical, negative 5 squared is 25, minus 4 times 1 is 4, times a negative 5 is a negative 20, but when you subtract a negative 20, that makes that a positive 20. All on the bottom, 2 times 1 is 2. Alright, so let's bring down to 5. Now we're going to add under the radical. 25 and 20 give me 45 over 2. Now we're at the point where we got to simplify that square root of 45. So to simplify radical, we want any perfect square factors of 45 brought out. So the only square factor in 45 would be a 9, because that's a 3 times 3. So this would make that a 5. Underneath, they still equal 45. But now we can do what? Square root of 9 is 3, so this would break down to a 3 square root of 5. So that gives me 5 plus or minus 3 square root of 5 over 2. And now, since the outside numbers don't reduce, my answer does not reduce any further, and I get D. Alright, so on this one here, we're going to find the vertex. So that was what? Number 14. So they're giving me 2x squared minus 8x plus 4. So the vertex formula is negative b over 2a, and then f of negative b over 2a. It's going to look like an x and y coordinate when we're done. So let's get the x coordinate. That's going to be negative b, which is a negative 8, over 2 times a, which is 2. So that's going to give me a 8 over 4, which gives me 2. Now I take the 2 and plug it back into the equation to get the y value. So 2 times 2 squared minus 8 times 2 plus 4. Alright, so I'm going to do the exponent first, so that gives me 2 times 4 minus 8 times 2 plus 4. Alright, here we go. That gives me 8 minus 16 plus 4. In the long run, 8 minus 16 is negative 8, plus 4 gives me a negative 4. So my point was 2 for the x, negative 4 for the y. So I chose B. Alright, then let's look at this 15. They want me to find the zeros of the polynomial and state the multiplicity of each. Well, to find the zeros, you take the factors that have variables, which is x plus 8 and x minus 8. And notice what I did here. X plus 8 equals 0, and then I took the x minus 8 and set it equal to 0. I then solved each of those. I solved the first one by minus an 8 from both sides, and I got x equals negative 8. The second one, I added 8 to both sides and got x equals positive 8. So for each one that'll work, since this was the first factor over here, the 2 outside is its multiplicity. And then since I used the x minus 8 to get the x equals 8 answer, that 3 out there is its multiplicity. So I needed negative 8 with a multiplicity 2, and then the positive 8 with a multiplicity 3, which gave me D. Alright, y'all, 16, they wanted me to choose the graph. So what I did was take all these factors and set them equal to 0. I had x equals 0, x plus 4 equals 0, x minus 3 equals 0, and x plus 3 equals 0. Well, let me pull that down. How about that? And then I solved each one of them. Couldn't do nothing to that, and so x equals 0 was one of them. Here I minus 4, got x equals negative 4. Here I added 3, got x equals 3. And then finally I subtracted 3 on this one and got x equals negative 3. So these were all the zeros. So I came in here and said, okay, there's 0, there was the 3, the negative 3, and the negative 4. Now, remember, we had a chapter that dealt with these degrees and the signs of the coefficient to tell me what kind of graphs I had. If the degree was even and odd, and then it was either plus coefficients or minus. So even, they both went uphill. If it was negative, they both went downhill. Odd sort of looked like it went uphill left to right, and if you made it negative, looked like it went downhill. So what I did, I said x times x times x times x gives me an x4, and the x4 has the shape of both going up, and I looked at the 2 down here that were going up. Well, B, it had zeros of 4 and 3, which were not, none of my, I had a 3, but I didn't have a 4. My 4 was negative. So I looked down here, and here's one at 3, here's one at 0, here's one at negative 3, and here's one at negative 4, which were my 4 zeros, and it's going uphill in both directions, so I chose C. Alright, y'all, down here, they want me to find the vertical asymptotes. So remember, that's always x equals. So what I did, I took x minus 8 and x plus 6 down here and set them equal to 0 and solved them. I solved this one by adding 8 and getting x equals positive 8. Solved the second one by subtracting 6 and getting x equals negative 6. And then I went down here, and the only one that had x equals 8 and x equals negative 6 was D. Alright, so I'll move over here. Alright, 18, they want me to find g of f of 9. They're giving me f of x equals 2x minus 1. G of x equals negative 7x squared plus 4x minus 5. So since the 9 is next to the f, first thing I find is f of 9. So f of 9 will equal 2 times 9 minus 1, which gives me 18 minus 1, which gives us 17. We now take the 17 and put it into those x's for the g, so we're finding g of 17, which equals negative 7 times 17 squared plus 4 times 17 minus 5. Alright, so that's going to give me negative 7. 17 times 17 is 289 plus 4 times 17 minus 5. Alright, so now I'm going to start multiplying. So negative 7 times 289 is going to give me negative 2023 plus 4 times 17, which gives me 68 minus 5. Alright, so let's see what we get. Negative 2023 plus 68 minus 5. Looks like I get me a negative 1960. And that on the test would have been C. Alright, so same thing, except this time I've got f of x equals negative 6x plus 5. I got g of x equals 5x plus 6. They want me to find g of f of x. So first I start with f of x. F of x is negative 6x plus 5. Since they didn't give me any numbers, there's nothing I can do to that now. So now what that means is take this and put it into the x for the g. So we're finding g of negative 6x plus 5, which is the g equation 5 times negative 6x plus 5 for its x, and then at the end is a plus 6. So we distribute first. 5 times negative 6x is negative 30x. 5 times 5 is 25 plus 6. So that gives me like terms here. So I get negative 30x plus 25 and 6 is 31. So let's see. Negative 30x plus 31. On the test, that would have been D. Alright, 20. Okay, so functions 1 to 1, we want to find its inverse. So f of x is going to equal 8x minus 6, which is a line. So yes, it's going to be 1 to 1. So let's find the inverse. So we first replace f of x with a y. Then we switch the x into y, so we get x equals 8y minus 6. And now we solve it for the y. So to solve for the y, I'm going to add 6 to both sides. So that x plus 6 equals 8y. And then to get the y to be a 1y, we divide by 8 on both sides. So that I get x plus 6 over 8 equals my y. But remember, my last step is to switch the y with the f inverse notation. So let's see, we need x plus 6 over 8. So on my test, that would have been choice B. Alright, y'all, just want to show y'all how to graph this one on the calculator. So go to y equals, and that's cleared. So I'm going to put 4. Now to do the exponent, I'm going to hit the caret up. That's in parentheses, so I'm going to put parentheses, x minus 1, close parentheses. Now I'm going to arrow down on mine and put plus 2. So we want to see what the graph looks like. We hit graph. So notice it's coming in and gets about to the y-axis and starts curving up. So let's see. That curves up way too soon. So it looks like I'm crossing over at that. So I'm going to go with B. Notice this one's down too low and that one's down too low. Alright, 22. Convert to an exponential equation. So the base is 4. The exponent is t. And 4 to the t has to equal 16. So let's see. 4 to the t equals 16. C. Alright, this one wants me to express it in terms of sums and differences. So they're all going to be a log. So that'll be log x9. Since they're on top, they're going to get added. Plus log z. And then it's going to be minus log y to the 5. So remember, if they're on the top, they're positive. On the bottom, they're written as a negative. Now, the last thing to do is move all these exponents to the front. So I get 9 log x plus the log z minus 5 log y. So let's see who has that. 9 log x plus log z minus 5 log y. Oh, it looks like A. Y'all watch out. That's a multiplication, and it's got to be addition. Alright, 24. Let's see. Okay, I guess they just want us to rewrite this one. So, since they're on top, they're added. On the bottom, they're minus. So that's a log x to the 9 plus a log z minus a log y to the 6. And the only thing, remember, I do is move these exponents to the front. So I get 9 log x plus my log z minus 6 log y. Alright, let's see who has that. So, ooh, watch it again. They're over here multiplying, and we need it to be adding, so we're going to go with A. Alright, this one looks like we just want to put our stuff in a little formula here. They're giving me the formula B equals 2,500,000 E to the 0.041 T, where T is in years. How many people would a country have after 4 years? So we're just going to put a 4 in for that T. So let's do that on the calculator. 2500,000. E, remember that is second. ln brings up that E. And then my exponent, I'm going to put it in parentheses, is 0.04 times 4. Close those parentheses. I'm going to hit enter. And I get, looks like 2933777. They're rounding to, looks like, to the nearest year. So that would give me D. Alright, y'all, good luck, and hopefully y'all succeed.